Murder Drones isn't shy about the drone-on-drone violence they depict in the show, and with how dark things have already become, some fans have speculated that Uzis' own mother may be dead because of none other than Designation N. We're going to break down this theory and where it fits in the history of murder drones, but real quick, I want to remind you all that we are selling autographed prints of your favorite Murder Drones characters, signed by their voice actors. You can purchase yours at the Streamly shop using the link in the description down below. We've got Michael Kovac as Designation N, Elsie Lovelock as Uzi, Nola Klopp as Designation V, and Emma Breezy as Doll. Down there, I'll also include a link to our livestream interview we did with the cast last Saturday, where they answered a bunch of fan-submitted questions. As long as you can still see prints in the Streamly shop, they are still available for purchase, but won't be forever, so get yours while you can. Now, when Murder Drones first opens, we are introduced to Uzi, a worker drone with a mind for designing weapons. She explains that Copper 9 was an exoplanet being mined for humans. They only appeared on Copper 9 to manage the drones, it seems, and after some sort of accident at the mining facility, there was an explosion. Organic life was wiped out, but the drones were just fine. They reappropriated the clothes of the humans, some of them from their very corpses, and started to simulate human existence. As we can see in this montage, the drones even married and simulated parenthood by raising AI neural networks, essentially drone babies. Now, these things are artificial intelligence, meaning they learn from what is around them and what their experiences are. Under humans, they would mostly just learn that they need to work. Most of the drones, particularly the older drones, never had to deal with fighting or conflict, and we can see that a lot of them are very cowardly. And when humans on Earth decided to wipe out the drones of Copper 9 and send the disassembly drones, many of them would not want to fight back. Even though there is a worker defense force that did rise up, the biggest solution became hiding behind 3 walls. The first wave of disassembly drones sent to Copper 9 contain N, V, and J, whose attack appears to have been going on for quite some time. Uzi's classmates are all shown to be in their late teens, and they discuss the initial invasion as if they weren't there for it, as if they were born after they went behind the walls. If Uzi was not there for the first invasion, she was there for what appears to be a sort of wall breach or some other conflict. This is a conflict alluded to throughout the show that appears to be when Uzi's mother, Nori, died, as well as both of Doll's parents. Doll's parents looked dressed for battle. Their uniforms indicate that they are probably part of the worker defense force and got caught up in a battle when one of the disassembly drones managed to get in. During this conflict, Uzi's mother would be destroyed, as would Doll's parents, though she would bring their corpses home with her. It is from this event that Doll and Uzi likely got the Absolute Solver, this strange artificial intelligence that boots up when a disassembly drone is destroyed beyond its own repair, so that the Absolute Solver can rebuild it from the parts of worker drones that it lures into traps. This Absolute Solver symbol has also infected Doll and Uzi, however, giving them strange powers. Like the disassembly drones, Doll appears to drink the oil of worker drones, likely to keep her system cool as the disassembly drones have to. The Absolute Solver then appears to be something that causes all the existing parts of a drone to work in overdrive, heating up so much the drone will explode if it doesn't cool itself down with worker drone oil, explaining how they are capable of seemingly magical feats. With that in mind, some aspects of the Absolute Solver may always be active in the disassembly drones, causing them to overheat even when we don't see its presence. Uzi has seemingly not had to eat oil in order to cool herself down in particular, but also has barely explored her powers, and I theorize that after its use at the end of episode 3, she may need oil to start cooling down, if not in episode 4, then in sometime in the near future. Some fans speculate that Absolute Solver is latent in all drones, but so far appears to jump to worker drones or get activated in worker drones when they come into contact with disassembly drones, particularly violent contact. My personal theory is that activating the Absolute Solver in a disassembly drone by causing too much damage to it causes the Absolute Solver to jump to the worker drones close by. This acts as a virus that corrupts the worker drone, making them almost like a vampire, and it can perhaps even spread from one worker drone to another as well, though we aren't 100% sure on that. Uzi's mother even appears to have had the Absolute Solver in her, something the Absolute Solver itself shows in a hologram projection of Uzi's mother, holding her as an untrained neural network. Now, from what I understand from behind-the-scenes information, these untrained neural networks are actually made up with part of each of their parents' programming, so if Nori had escaped a disassembly drone attack once, she could have passed the Absolute Solver onto her child when giving up part of her programming. It may also have been transmitted to Uzi as an infant in some form. Right now, it's hard to say how exactly all these pieces line up, but one thing we seem to know is that Uzi's mother was killed by a disassembly drone. While there may be other disassembly drones on Copper 9, it appears that N and his team were sent as the first wave, with other disassembly drones not coming until much later with Tessa alongside them. This says to me that at the time of the plan to destroy the worker drones of Copper 9, Tessa only had her few worker drones that we saw in the episode 2 flashback. She would have to send these as the first wave while staying on Earth to collect any more worker drones she could find in dumps to make a second wave, which she seems to have traveled with as seen at the end of episode 3. With that in mind, anyone in the bunker who has lost a loved one to a disassembly drone only has N, V, and J to blame. We know for certain that V is the one who killed Doll's parents, something she still acts like she enjoyed, but there is a mystery as to who is responsible for the death of Uzis mother. In Uzi's room, we can see a photo of her as an untrained neural network with both parents, but her mother's face is missing. It appears that her face was destroyed by acid. While I've seen some fans speculate that it was V who killed Uzi's mother, she is already responsible for the death of Doll's parents. As fun as that dynamic could be to explore, the more interesting answer is that N himself killed Uzi's mother. J would be an easy answer because she's the most villainous of the murder drones, even being rather evil in the flashback N had of their time working in the mansion for Tessa and her family before they were given murder drone programming. N, on the other hand, is someone that Uzi isn't just friends with, but seem to be developing romantic feelings for. This is already a bit dramatic because of how N has murdered several worker drones in front of her back in the pilot, people her father Khan worked with every day and was close with. Uzi has wrestled with this to some degree. At the end of episode 2, she seemed to experience genuine horror at N and what the other disassembly drones are. She puts this aside in episode 3, but it's only a matter of time before she has to deal with the ethics of befriending a murderous vampire. After having more time to develop her feelings, realizing that N killed her own mother and set the events in motion that possibly gave her the absolute solver would be very tough for Uzi to work through. However, there is some sense of hope here. Right now, N has a large pile of dead bodies in his past, but as we see with the disassembly drones, death isn't always the end. J was absolutely destroyed by Uzi's railgun, so much so that she couldn't just repair herself the way N had done earlier in the pilot. Instead, Absolute Solver activates, which creates hologram traps to lure in worker drones for spare parts before reconstructing the disassembly drone. It was apparently successful in this, bringing back Jay not much different than how we knew her in the pilot at the end of episode 3, and thus far, Jay seems to have retained her memories and such. It would seem to me that these aren't just backups of their personalities, but even after great destruction to their main parts, the actual brain of a drone can still be salvaged, perhaps even backed up in something like the Absolute Solver on some sort of cloud. While not all drones could be saved, there is a distinct possibility that Uzi's mother Nori may have her programming backed up, and Absolute Solver could end up being a way to restore Uzi's mother and perhaps even other victims, not copying their intelligence, but legitimately bringing them back from their source by reconstructing the appropriate vessel. But what do you guys think? Is N the one who attacked Uzi's mom, or do you have other theories? Let me know in the comments down below, and don't forget to check out our livestream Q&A with the cast of murder drones from last Saturday, as well as the Streamly shop where you can order a print of your favorite murder drones character signed by their voice actors. Links in the pinned comment down below, and I'll see you next time.